The Woman in the Yard is a doozy. It's a heck of a nail biter and it's also a head scratcher. It will leave you guessing to the very last end. And a lot of the plot, I think, is left up to your interpretation and your bias because we're watching from an inverted view. And when you see it, you'll get what I'm saying. I think it's okay. If you like slow burns and you're patient, then you'll like it. However, I do think that there's some plot fraud and there are some plot holes. I won't spoil it here, but I will say that's prevalent. There's some plot fraud going on in this movie. A little backstory. So, the original screenplay was The Man in the Yard, and it followed similar. There was a man in the yard that threatened Ramona, the protagonist. He said, either let me in your house or I will kill your kids. Now, that's not strong enough to sustain an hour and a half, 2 hour movie. So it was reworked to this iteration. This iteration follows Ramona after a tragic car accident. She is a widow, raising 2 kids, stricken with grief and depression, and has survivor's remorse. And her dilemma here is, does she fight through the depression to be there for her kids, or does she relent and take her own life because she just can't deal with it? That's what they want us to believe it is. That's why I think there's some plot fraud, which I won't get into. I don't want to spoil it here. This film is worked really well as it relates to keeping your attention. It is a slow burn and it requires the audience to focus on every little detail because that contributes to the overall narrative and plot and ending. So you have to pay attention, and the movie helps with that by livening up scenes with jump scares that are very effective and sound scares, these bursts of sounds that alert you to keep you awake and to keep the scene alive. It does a really good job with that. The score is good too. The set design is good. The set design contributes significantly to the story. So you have to pay attention to everything in the background and the foreground, not just the characters. So I liked it in that respect. I would recommend this to audiences who are very patient. You have to be patient with this because the story is deliberate. It takes its time and you do have to focus, otherwise you will miss so much. I won't spoil it, but I will say this. If you're planning to see it, pay close attention to the attic scene because I think that's the most important piece to what we're actually watching. That's the clue to the movie we're watching. And then also, now this is a spoiler, in the trailer and in a couple of scenes in the movie, there is a car that looks like the one that Ramona and her husband were driving when they had the fatal accident. But when they're on their date and get in the car in the rain and leave right before the accident, that's a different car and a different color. So keep in mind those 2 scenes. I think this is one of those films where you have to see it multiple times to really get the entire gist of it, to really get the bang for your buck. At any rate, The Woman in the Yard is currently in theaters now. Come back and tell me what you think.